Okay, so right after the intro, we're now going to start off with unit number 1, Introduction to Economics. So pick up your tute. You might have the tute with you. So for those who are a part of the theory class, you all get the entire tute with all the file and everything. Maybe later on, 1 year later, if someone buys the recording, we don't give the entire set. What we do is we give the main theory tute with a few material that is there. Okay. So for y'all, let's get started now. I know some of y'all don't have the tute. That is okay. That's fine. Right? You don't have to have the tute. I will send you the written PDF. Once you get the tute, you can make some notes as well. There is not a lot to write. So I'm not a big fan of writing things in class. So you can make side notes and all that. Definitely, yes. I won't dictate notes. Because if I can type it and give, that saves time, why should I dictate a note? So we'll start with the first unit, Introduction to Economics. Now usually in any syllabus, in any paper out there, in any subject, the first unit is something that you don't get a lot of questions from. Usually now, even in accounting, even when it comes to, let's say, business studies, from the first unit, give me a second, I'll get my charger, right? From the first unit, you don't get a lot of questions. But in econ, the story is actually different. In econ, from unit number 1, you get an equal amount of questions just like in other units. So out of your any guesses, I want to see from the 200 mark paper, how many marks do you think comes from unit number 1? Now you have the past papers with you, MCQs and essay questions combined. How many marks do you think from 200 mark? Do you want to make a guess? From the 200 mark paper, how many marks are from unit number 1? 10, 20, 25, 5, how much? So you get, if you look at the recent papers, take your past paper tute out, you will see there is around 4 MCQs. So in your paper, you have around 4 MCQs. So can you all tell me how many marks is that? 4 MCQs will give you how many marks? I told you 1 MCQ is 2 marks. So 4 MCQs will give you 8 marks. And then you also have one entire essay question. Remember, I told you in paper 2, question number 1 in your paper, that is a 20 marks there. So in total, from unit number 1 itself, from your 200 mark paper, you're going to get 28 marks. So that is a lot of marks. And you might think that that is not a lot of marks. That is a lot of marks now. Because even if you think of how much of marks you need to pass the exam, we are not targeting to pass, we are targeting to get an A. But just think, to pass the exam, you need 80 out of 200, 40 out of 100. So even if you, let's say, properly study around 3-4 units, you can pass the exam. So don't target to pass. We are not spending the 2 years just to get 80 out of 200. We'll target to get around at least 180 out of 200, at least 90 out of 100. So to start with, we'll talk about what is something called economic behavior. So what is economic behavior and what does it actually mean? So all of y'all know people have needs and wants. So you have needs that are essential for survival, and you have wants, the various ways that people fulfill their needs. So we'll go into that a little bit more in detail. So if you take these needs and wants, these needs and wants can be categorized into 2. We have physical needs and wants, right? You can add the word wants here. And you have mental needs and wants. What is the difference? I'm telling you, needs and wants can be classified into 2. Physical needs and wants and mental needs and wants. Now, physical needs and wants, Lamai, are the needs and wants that can be fulfilled by the consumption of a good. You can fulfill that need or want by purchasing a good or service. Now, for example, you have the need for food. Unless you buy something to eat and you have dinner. You have the need for, let's say, education. Unless you pay the class fees and you get the knowledge. So anything that you can get from a good or service, that you can fulfill from a good or service, is called a physical need or want. And you also have mental needs and wants. Like what? Now, all of you all, Lama, you all want to be treated kindly. You want to feel love, right? You want to, have spiritual development. Let's say, build your brain, all of that. Now, those kind of things you can't get from a good door service. Can you get love by getting a chocolate? Maybe that could be another story. But you can't fulfill your physical needs and wants. You can't fulfill your mental needs and wants with a good door service. So that's why we are saying the needs that cannot be directly fulfilled by the consumption of a good door service is called a mental need. So once again, what's the story? I'm telling you, needs and wants can be classified into two. You have physical needs and wants, and you have mental needs and wants. What are physical needs and wants? The needs that can be directly fulfilled by the consumption of a good or service. By consumption doesn't mean eating, it can be anything. By getting a good or service, if you can fulfill that, that is called a physical need or want. But if you can't directly fulfill it with the consumption of a good or service, that is called a mental need or want. Things like love, affection, kindness, those kind of things. Now, in economics, which one of these do you think we focus on? Which one do you think we focus on? Do we focus on how people satisfy their physical needs and wants? Or do we talk about how people satisfy their mental needs and wants? Needs and wants, the differences we'll learn, Lama. That's another part. It's there in the tute. So for now, I'll not go into detail there. Which one do you think? The physical ones or the mental ones? Which one are we trying to satisfy? Because I want one more thing, right? I want all of you to give me answers on the chat box. Lamai, right or wrong, that is okay. You know why I tell you to give answers on the chat box? Then Lamai, you all stay focused. Nothing, what happens now? This is a online class. You look up and wait. Now the screen, something is happening. Right? 10 minutes down the line, now you're thinking of something else. So for that reason, I want, I know some of you all are in your phone. It might be a little bit difficult to type. Right or wrong, just keep typing something. I'm not going to judge you. I'm the last person to judge you. I never asked you what your O-level results are. I don't judge people with anything. Right answer, wrong answer, come on. Even if you have anything to share, you can chat box. Just keep typing, keep yourself active. That's what I want you to do. So when you're in the tute, make notes, highlight things. Don't just look at the screen and wait. The last thing I want you to do right now, if any of you all are in bed, nicely in the bed, then phone is on the side, you're just sleeping and putting the earphone, that is the worst way to do. So properly sit on a table, right? Have your phone, no laptop or computer, whatever in front of you, have your tute in front of you and listen. And during that time, type on the chat box, do all of that. So then back to my question. What type of needs and wants are we trying to satisfy in economics, Lamai? In economics, we try to satisfy those physical needs. We don't talk about how people can find love, how to treat people kindly. That is not economics. So economics is about, right? So this thing about economic behavior. So economic behavior is how people try to satisfy their physical needs and wants. How do we try to make the best use of the money that we have? How do we satisfy our physical needs and wants is what economic behavior is all about. So this will include the production of goods. It will include the distribution, the consumption, all of that. Different things are there. We don't have to learn those in detail. We will learn it in detail later, right? So some of these parts, Lama, I'm not going into detail because it's there later. So don't worry too much about it. Just get the overall story. Overall, what is my story? I'm telling you, there are physical needs and wants that can be fulfilled with the consumption of a good or service. And you have mental needs and wants that can't be fulfilled directly with the consumption of a good or service. From these two, which one does economics focus on? Economics focuses on satisfying your physical needs and wants. So then we'll talk about what is economics. What's the definition for economics? So economics, Lamai, is a subject that studies how people, like, can you tell me our resources that we have, right? Are they limited or unlimited? Now, when you say resources, you can think of the money that you have, the land, labor, capital. What do you all think? Do we have limited resources or unlimited? Right or wrong? That's okay. Just type something on the chat box. What do you think? The resources. The resources that we have are comparatively limited. No, we might have a lot of resources, I agree. But don't you think those resources are limited? Now think of the money that you have. For example, money is not a resource, but we'll just think of it to understand. The money that you have is limited. No, you don't have unlimited money. No. But what about your wants? Human wants, are they limited or unlimited? If I ask you what you want, so you will say, sir, I want the latest iPhone, sir, I want the latest laptop, sir, I want to go a trip to abroad, sir, I want this, sir, I want that, sir. You will have unlimited wants, no? So now there is a problem, don't you think? You have limited resources, but your wants are unlimited. So then, how do you use your resources to satisfy these unlimited wants? How do you manage it, Lama? Right? Uh, how do you manage your resources to satisfy these unlimited wants? And that is what economics studies. So economics is about, for example, even take a government. If you take a government, does a government have unlimited money, unlimited resources? No, no. They also have limited resources. Then how do they use their money and try to do the best thing for the country? Then think of people like you and me. People like you and me also have limited resources. So with your father's income, right, how are you going to make the best use of it, right? What are you going to spend on? Where can you invest your money on, right? So much of things that you can do. So economics is all about that. Economics is about, right? It's a subject, whether you become an economist or not, this econ is a subject that helps you do well in life. It helps you how to manage your money, where you can invest. It helps you understand what is happening in the country. So whether you become an economist or not, that doesn't matter. Knowing economics, it's a subject that can help you no matter what you do in life. So it's about how you manage those limited resources. You have scarce resources. Another word for limited is scarce. So we have limited resources. Governments, businesses, people like you and me, we all have limited resources. No? With those limited resources, how do we try to get the maximum use of it? How do we try to satisfy our unlimited wants? That is what economics studies about. So here, see, I'm giving you a definition. I'm saying the first definition, the subject which studies the relationship between scarce resources. Scarce means limited, limited resources with alternative uses. What is that? Now, our resources have multiple uses. Now, if I have 1,000 rupees, I can buy some food. I can watch a movie. I can do so much of different things, right? My resources have alternative uses and human wants. So how do you use your limited resources to satisfy your unlimited wants? And look at the second definition. I am saying economics is a social science. Now, none of us wanted to do science. No, may bio karan bari hinda tama you came to do commerce. Now, I am saying economics is a science. I'm saying economics is a social science that studies how unlimited human wants are fulfilled through limited resources. So how Lama, it's mainly about how we make choices. So economics has a lot about choices. How do you make the right choice in life? How is the government going to make the right choice? How we as people, let's say we are earning 100,000 as income. How are you going to use that 100,000 properly? How, what goods do you buy? How do you save that money? Where do you put that money in? Where can you invest it in? That is all what economics is about. How you manage those resources to get satisfy as much as possible wants you have to satisfy your unlimited one. So economics is also mainly about my choices. So you can say economics is subject about choices also. It's about how people manage their choices. Then what is this social science story? Now none of us, how many of you all like science? From the three subjects, which one do you all hate? Physics, bio, and chemistry. I think it's one subject, but from those, which one do you hate? Physics, bio, okay. I hated biology. Then I hated chemistry. Physics was okay for me. And I was not that I liked it that much. I hated bio. And all the ones, physics also is annoying. Sorry, chemistry is also annoying. Now thinking back about these atoms and how these atoms and molecules and the numbers that you put on it and the periodic table, thinking back, how useless that was. And then bio, you have how many of you all remember the powerhouse of the cell? Powerhouse of the cell near the, what is it called? That's the only thing that I remember in bio. The only thing I remember is mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That is something that everyone remembers. I don't know, for some reason, everyone remembers that. So something like that, sometimes it's no use, no? Like now, what are you going to do with knowing that? Maybe Lama, now, right now, did you also see this? Did you all see that the government is making some educational reforms now? From your subjects, one subject that was compulsory is now thrown out to optional. What is the subject? What was the one that was thrown out to being optional? What was the one? History. I don't know. Did you all like history? History was okay for me, but I was very bad at history though. It was an okay subject, but I just hated it because there was so much of history. It was so hard for me to remember and all of that. So I never really enjoyed history, and I think it's okay that it is being thrown out. So because the reason is not that it's completely thrown out. So having it optional is okay. Now, maybe for me personally, I feel maybe a subject like IT has to be made compulsory. Because now, with how the world is going with AI and all of it happening, everyone has to know IT. Now, when you all go to the real world, you all might be learning accounting right now for A levels in normal paper. Right? In paper, you make debit and credit, and that's how you do. But do you think an accountant in the real world has a ledger account and they do debits and credits? It's all computerized, it's all there. Do you think, for example, in when I go to work, do you think now I work as an economist? Do you think I go and teach my clients what is economics? This is the definition. No. Right, so it's all right. We do presentations, we do so much of things, how to search things on the internet, how to analyze data, all of that. So those things I feel are skills people should have, Laman. So maybe IT should be a compulsory subject. But why do you think IT is not? I personally feel it should, but why do you think it's not? What's the reason? What's the limitation in Sri Lanka? Why can't they make IT a compulsory subject for every school? The issue is you don't have the digital divide. You don't have enough resources. No? There's all the schools out there have enough computer labs. There are schools now that might have one or two computers. So can you put an entire class to learn with one or two computers? Do you have enough teachers to teach? Right. Then for every school, there has to be an IT teacher then. So those are the issues in Sri Lanka. So if you can work on those, then the country can be in a better place. So I personally think history being thrown out is okay. And that is my personal opinion, because you don't want to know what this king did and that king did. Instead of that, use that time for something else though. You don't need to know what Pandu Kavya did and what his wife did and how he killed his brother and all of that. Oh, so that's my opinion there. So coming back to this now. Now, those things like biology and all, those were called natural sciences. So for example, biology is a natural science. Chemistry is a natural science. But economics, we call it a social science. Why is it called a social science? A social science is because it studies human behavior. So any social science studies human behavior. So for example, if you also take subjects like, I'll tell you, psychology. Psychology is a social science. You study about how people's minds and all work. For example, if you take things like, I think, even things like political science, right? That could be a social science. So social sciences are subjects that studies about human behavior, how people, how this whole person works. So here also we are talking about how a person, how governments, how firms, how we use our resources to satisfy our unlimited wants. So that's the story about economics. It's much more interesting than this definition. Right? So I'll just tell you on what do you have, right, in the future. So in the future, Lamai, now in unit number, for example, 7. In unit number 7, we will talk about interest rates, how the interest rates in the countries work. Then how about inflation? For example, inflation means prices are rising, how that works. Now you all will then understand. Remember in 2022, Sri Lanka had an economic crisis and how all the prices became expensive. So you understand the reasons behind it. Why did that happen? Because of this only it happened. Then we'll talk about Lama, unit number 10, exchange rates. So how does the exchange rate work? What factors affect it? Now, right now, you know, $1 is around 300 rupees. How did that number come? Right? Now, what can it be by the end of this year? So then we'll talk about the government, right? How the government is collecting their taxes. How is the government spending? What is Anura doing now in this essay? So there's so much of things, right, that we will learn about practically. The definition is this, but practically this subject becomes very, very interesting going forward. So especially econ, what I want you to do is, now this initial part can be a little bit of theory, but for all of you, my advice is, Lamai, please don't memorize the subject. Understand the subject with logic. Especially given that I work as an economist, I'll bring the practical examples in the real world. The latest real world examples of what is happening in the country, I'll be able to connect out there. So you practically understand it, then you won't forget it. And it will be very interesting then. And you will remember, this is what Anura is doing now. This is what now. How many of you all know, Lamai, Trump is coming and putting some tariffs? Have you all heard about something like that? President Donald Trump in US is putting some tariffs on Sri Lanka. So what is this tariffs? What does that mean? What does that mean for our exports? All of that we will learn. So I know some of you all are completely blank with it. That's all right. So we'll, little by little, we'll figure all those out. Okay, so then today, I want to do these branches of economics and I want to wrap things off. So we'll study this page, then we'll do a few past papers. Always, Lamai, when you learn a certain part, do a past paper from that part and see whether you understand. Can you do it? So I want you now, I hope you all were listening carefully here. Now listen carefully on this page as well. And then I'll put you for a few actual A-level past paper questions and we'll see if you can get it correct. Okay. So we are going to study the branches of economics. So there are two branches in economics. One branch is what we call microeconomics, and the other branch is called macroeconomics. So what is micro and what is macro? Microeconomics is where we focus on a small part of the economy. So we study about how one individual is behaving. Individual means a person. How one household means your family, your house, right? Or maybe one firm. So we study about a small part of the economy, right? How is one person saving money? What is the cost of production of this one firm? What is the price of one good? You focus on now. If you take the Sri Lankan economy, that's a big economy, Nilamai. But microeconomics is where you focus on a small part of an economy. You study about, see, what choices are people making, right? What factors influence that? What is the price of a certain good? A small part. See, examples, demand and supply and price for a good. Demand and supply, unit number 2. You don't have to know those. Then production function of a firm. How does a firm produce a good? What is the cost of production for a firm, right? How, for example, firm is a company, a business. Okay. Then things like, for example, scarcity, marginal cost, all of that. You don't have to know what each of these are, right? Each of these we will learn in detail. For example, demand and supply, unit number 2. Production function cost, unit number 4. Market operation, unit number 2. Market operation of production firm, unit 4. Scarcity, this and all, unit number 1 in the later part. So what these are, I don't want you all to know. I just want you all to know that these are examples of microeconomics, where we are focusing on a small part of the economy, right? Micro means small, no? So you focus on how one individual is behaving, how one firm is behaving, what is the cost of one good, for example, cost of milk powder, right? What is the cost of an iPhone? What is the price of an iPhone? And that is microeconomics. Then the second branch for economics, Lamai, is called macroeconomics. Now, what is macroecon? Macroecon is where, Lamai, you focus on the entire economy. Now, for example, my job as an economist, right? I'm a macroeconomist. So now when we go and advise clients, right? Now we speak to clients, right? We do different things. So we don't go and talk about me firm make cost take a value. No. We talk about the entire economy. We talk about, okay, yeah, this is what is going to happen to the exchange rate now. This is how the interest rates are working, right? This is what will happen to inflation. So that's called macroeconomics. Macro means big, no? So macroeconomics is the branch of economics that studies the overall economy. You're not talking about one small thing. See, look at the examples. Now, I'll say, for example, okay, let's say this, say exchange rate. Do we say exchange rate of Colombo? No, no. We say the exchange rate of Sri Lanka. Now, for example, if you take, for example, okay, take something like inflation. Inflation is increase in prices. So do we say inflation rate of what one business? No, no. We say the inflation rate of Sri Lanka. Then take, for example, things like economic growth. Now, all of these individually, you don't have to know what it is. We will learn this later. But that is what? Focusing on the entire economy. Now, for example, aggregate output. Aggregate output means the total output of the country, total amount of goods the country has produced. Then aggregate income. That's the total income of the country. Then you have things like, for example, employment, unemployment. Now, someone might come and say, Sri Lanka's unemployment rate is 5%. So all of that is what? Macroeconomic, right? Things like, now all of this we learn. Now investment unit number 5 and 6. Recession we learn in this unit. Exchange rate unit number 10. Money supply unit number 7. Imports, exports unit number 9. So what these are, like I said before, individual you don't have to know. But what you broadly need to know is there are two branches in economics. The first branch is called microeconomics. You focus on a small part of the economy, one individual, one household, one firm. You talk about that. Then macroecon, yes, it talks about the entire country. You focus about the entire country, right? The exchange rate of Sri Lanka, the economic growth rate of Sri Lanka, the interest rates in the country, the inflation rates. That's the entire broad economy that is out there. So that's macroeconomics. So I'll just quickly recap. If you all have questions after that, just let me know. I'm going to put you directly into some past papers. So I started off with telling you something called economic behavior. What is economic behavior? I told you there are physical needs and wants and mental needs and wants. Physical needs and wants were the ones that can be satisfied directly with the consumption of a good or service. Mental ones, you can't satisfy directly with a consumption of a good or service. So in economics, we talk about the physical needs and wants, not the mental. We don't talk about how to find love and how to treat people with kindness. No, how you satisfy your physical needs and wants. Then I went into the definition for economics. What was economics about? I told you. Economics was a subject about how people make choices, how you make choices, and how you satisfy your unlimited wants with the scarce resources that you have. You have limited resources. With this limited resources, how do you properly make a choice? How do you decide? And how do you satisfy your unlimited wants? It was a social science as well. Then I told you there are two branches in economics. What are the two branches? First one was microeconomics. We focus on a small part of the economy, not the entire economy, a small part of the economy. That is microeconomics. And then you have macroecon. So when I say small part, it's about how one individual, one firm, one household, how they are behaving. Then, for example, the price of a good, let's say price of rubber, let's say price of coconut, price of, let's say, Sri Lankan clothes, and price of one good. That is microeconomics. Then what is macroeconomics? Where you focus on the entire country. For example, the country's GDP, the country's inflation rate, country's general price level, right? So general price level means the prices of all the goods. So now those kind of things are how the government is collecting their tax, entire country. That is what you call macroeconomics. Okay. And then one more thing that I want to tell you before I get into the questions is now I told you your island ranks and all of it comes from overall all the mediums. Okay. How many of people do you think from the 50,000 students who do commerce, how many of it do you think do A levels in English medium from that 50,000? Total 50,000, all three mediums. How much of it do you think do A levels in English medium? Nice. So far, don't have a correct answer. So do you know A levels in English medium is still a very small crowd. A levels in English medium is close to around 5 to 6,000 students. Only that's it. That is around little bit more than 10% from the 50,000 commerce students. Only 5 to 6,000 students do it in English medium. And I'll tell you, the fact that you're doing it in English medium is the best decision that you're making. And right now, I think, how many people are switching from a different medium? From Sinhala or Tamil in O levels and now coming into English? That's the best decision that you're ever making now. Because if you come into especially university and all of that, it's all in English. I'll give you more stories about uni in Colombo, right? It's all in English. And don't be scared. Don't worry. I'll give you personal experience with my sister. You remember I showed you a flyer with 3 people among the top 10 in the island. I don't know if you'll ever noticed. The fifth in the island there, that is my own sister, right? She did A levels last year. So I have twin sisters. One was the fifth in the island. The other one was the 202nd in the island. So still very good island ranks. Out of the 50,000 people, if you can come on the top 200, Lama, you're brilliant, right? So both my sisters, they did O levels in Sinhala medium. So that means until grade 1 to grade 11, they did it in Sinhala. Some of you all are scared. I did in Sinhala or Tamil. Now will I understand in English? Don't worry, Lama. Initially, the Kamaru way. But with time, you can catch up. And doing it in English is the best thing that you can do. I'll prove it to you with the results research. Now in Sri Lanka, now you can see out of the 50,000 people, how much do it in English medium? Only 5,000 or 6,000 people. So then if that is the case, if only around 10% do in English medium, then the island rank should also be proportionate to that. How many students do you think in the top 10 in the island? Now, top 10 island, 3 people were itself my students. How many of them do you think are from the English medium? From the top 10. Based on statistics, if only 10% are doing in English, then only 10% of this, only 1% should be English medium. How many people are from the English medium? From the top 10 this year, there are 6 students. 6 students in the English medium. So do you see how different that is? Now, if you even take the top 100 in the island, right, I'll tell you, at least around 50 people are from the English medium. I don't have the exact count there, so I'm saying at least 50. So at the end of the day, it's the English medium students that do way better than everyone else. What is the reason for that, Lama? Why, even though you have very little people doing in English, that little people do very well. Why? The reason for that is, Lamai, the resources. Especially now, we are living in, Lamai, a digital era. All of y'all, you have, Lamai, you have the internet. Anything that you don't understand, you can Google on the internet. Anything you want to understand more detail, watch a YouTube video. That's why I have given a small QR code here. So I want y'all to make use of that benefit you have. Sinhala medium students, Lamai, the only resource they have is their school teacher's note and their class teacher's tute. That is it. They might have a few books here and there, that's it. But English medium, us, right? We have the entire internet on our hands. The entire YouTube is there on our hands. Now you have AI also that you can easily find information, ChatGPT and all of it. So we have everything. Make use of it properly now. I know all of y'all are on your phone now. Scrolling on Instagram, YouTube, all of that. Use it for educational purposes as well. And that makes a big difference from you and the normal other medium students. And I want all of y'all also go in search of knowledge. So, for example, as a practice, what I sometimes do is now in our time, we didn't have online classes. No? So when I learn something in class or school, I come and watch a YouTube video on it. I just Google that topic. right? On YouTube, I just now, for example, let's say micro and macroeconomics. Just to put it into my head, I just search it on YouTube. On YouTube, I search micro and macroecon. Then some video will be there, like a 2-minute video, 5-minute video, some random fellows videos are there. So I just watch that video, you know why? Then sometimes, certain parts that I would have not picked up in class, and I pick it up from there. And then I remember it better, Lavai. So now I have that class explanation that my school sir gave, or my class sir gave. I also have that YouTube explanation in my head. So that's multiple ways. So I want you all also to be that type of crowd. Don't be the crowd that just comes to class and looks at my tutor and go anyway. Go in search of knowledge. Google certain topics, right? Read something on the internet. On the internet, what are they saying about micro macro? What is YouTube saying in terms of video? So that has to come from you. I can't come and hold your hand and tell Lamai now search YouTube, watch micro macro, watch a video. I can't tell you that. So if it comes from you, you will do great. That's the difference between someone who gets a 75 and someone who gets, let's say, island rank for 11. It's that you take that extra step. So from the beginning, I want you to be that kind of a crowd, right? So with that, let's quickly do a few past paper MCQs to see if you can handle actual past paper questions. Now, I only taught you for around half an hour. I told you I will finish the syllabus around 5 times. So we'll do so many things. You all will study in school. You all will do so much of things. You'll do the A-level paper. But what I'm doing right now is I'm going to put you right into the deep end. So this is like me teaching you to swim on inside a classroom. Inside a classroom, I taught you how to swim. And now I put you to the deep end and see. Let's see how many of you all can swim. So I'm going to put you to exact A-level past paper question. We'll see you can handle. Even if you get it wrong, don't feel bad at all because you just learned it live. 2 years, you all will be learning this. So don't worry. So we'll start with one question. 2011 A-levels question number 2. I want all of you all, right or wrong, come up now. Send me a message on the chat box. You can send it only to me. Select my name and send it directly to me. Which one? The branch of economics that studies the decisions of individuals, households, and firms. So we studied 2 branches. Which branch talks about individuals, households, and firms? Macroeconomics, microeconomics, positive economics, normative economics, home economics. Which one? Quickly. Answer number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can even type the answer number. Which one talks about individuals, households, and firms? I think almost everyone is getting this correct. Right or wrong, come up, give an answer, then you will remember the answer. At least if you get it wrong, then remember, I got this wrong, you will remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I won't remember your names because so many messages keep coming. Your name will go up. So don't think that sir will think I'm stupid if I give the wrong answer. I don't. Right. So the answer for this is what? Microeconomics, where you focus on a small part of the economic. Right. So that's one question. I'll show you more questions. Session. Okay, what about this? Oh, no, this we can come to later. I'll teach you this better. Okay, this one, 2015 question number 1. They're asking you, which of the following is a microeconomic statement? This is a little bit harder than the previous one. So look at these answers and see which answer talks about one small part of the economy. Right? Maybe about one good, maybe about one firm, one individual. See which one, right? So the price of rubber declined by 10% last year. Unemployment was 58% last year. Real GDP increased by 7%. General price level increased by 4%. Tax revenue of the government decreased by 8%. Which one of this talks about a small part of the economy? Maybe about one product, maybe about one individual, maybe about something, a small part of the economy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Around 80% of you all are correct. Some of you all are wrong. Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wrong, not, that's okay, Lamai. This is the very first time, just for half an hour if you're learning, and if you can even attempt the question, that's something to be proud of. Which one? So the answer, there is answer number 1. Price of rubber. Rubber is just one product, no? I'll explain the other answers. Now, when you say unemployment is for the entire country. When you say my real GDP, now I told you GDP means the total output of the country. That's macro. Then if you say general price level, remember general price level is not price for one good. I told you general price level means prices of all the goods. And then the tax revenue of the government. When you say tax revenue of the government, the entire country's government's tax revenue. Does the product matter? No, no product this one doesn't matter. As long as it's one small thing that becomes a micro, whether it's rubber or plastic or 10% or 20%, that doesn't really matter. Okay. So all of these are macro economic data. The first one is micro. Then we look for another one. Okay, easy one though. This is disappointing. 2019 question number one. The branch of economics that studies decisions of individuals, households, and firms. What is the branch? This is when the examiner gets a little lazy. He ends up copying and pasting. He gets a little bored. He gets paid so much to make the paper. But what the fellow does is he copies and pastes from the previous paper. So answer again, number two, micro econ, that is fine. Right, we'll go to a more challenging one. Okay, what about this? So this is an interesting one, right? Be careful. 2021 question number one. They're asking you a more complete short definition of economics is that economics is the study of what? Is the study of how employment opportunities in the society would be created, how goods trade, how countries trade goods in the global marketplace, how goods and services are produced without damaging the environment, how unlimited resources are allocated among limited wants, how scarce resources are allocated to satisfy unlimited wants. There are two close answers. Be careful. Huh? Which one do you think is econ? Economics is study of what? We talked about the definition. We talked about so much of things. Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Most of y'all are correct. Others give me answer. Right or wrong, that's okay. You get it right or wrong, that's fine. Which one? Which one is economics about? Think about what I was teaching you. When I said economics, I told you it's a study of something and something. I told you about something about resources, something about wants. I told you something is unlimited. I told you something is limited. Which one? Answer number 4 or 5. So it's not about employment opportunities. It's not about how countries trade. It's not about how you protect the environment. It's 4 or 5. Think of which one is limited, which one is unlimited. Number 4 is saying we have unlimited resources. And they are saying we have limited wants. Is that correct? Do you have unlimited resources and limited wants? Nanilama, it's the other way around, no? You have limited or you have scarce resources and you have unlimited. So how do you use your limited resources to satisfy your unlimited wants? That is what economics is about. It's another one. No. Yeah, that's all for now. Right. So how did you all do out of 4? Did you all at least get 2 out of it correct? At least 50% there. We did 4 proper A-level past paper questions. I did not make the question easy to make you feel good. These are actual A-level questions, the type of questions you will get in your paper. 50 questions like this is what you will get. At least 2, if you got all 4, perfect. But you get at least 2. So just think, Lamai. Now, what I want to prove to you is this 30 minutes, you listen carefully, right? You were listening in class and you were able to do the paper. So just think, if you properly listen every single day, you can get the entire paper done, Lamai. So this online class does work. I did not make the question easy for you to make you feel better. These are actually A-level past paper questions. I am giving the year and the question number also. You go and check the A-level paper if you want. I didn't make the question easy just to show that you can do it. These are actual questions that is there. So what I want you to do, I'll give you one more advice next time also, is to listen carefully in class. You can save a lot of time. We'll talk about that strategy the next class. So since we are already past 10 minutes, I will wrap it off here. So good job so far today for a start. Next class again is next Sunday. For those who have questions, I've already got a few questions on the chat box. Those who have questions, please stay and clarify. The recording of this, I'll try to put on YouTube soon. First few sessions, in our website, free in the, I'll put it on YouTube. And then next class, once I put it on YouTube, I'll send you all the link. Next class will be on next Sunday, same time, 7 to 9. So see you all and have a nice week. See you. Bye-bye.